Alright, let's do a video now because I'm walking home, why not? So, I'm not a big Anzac Day person, so I didn't know it was Anzac Day. But I went to go to the city to do my normal Saturday routine. And my folks told me it's Anzac Day, so everything's shut. So I was like, oh, alright, this will be interesting. So I went to the city, and she was correct. I didn't care for the parade, so I just sat down, had a coffee at a different kind of cafe. It was nice. It was good. They seemed like good people. And then I guess the day got a little bit more interesting because I found every year they like dance at some block, like in a block they dance somewhere. And I generally go every year, at least I think I do. I probably miss one or two maybe. It's not the point. The point is I sort of did it. I sort of did it differently this year. So I didn't really go there for the dancing. Swing That thing was there, and I don't really communicate with them. So I just managed to sit myself on a table, and I read pretty much all of this book, or what was left of it. And God, a lot of people. Look, I could understand them judging me. A lot of people were like, "What the?" This is guy just sitting at the table reading a book. And I actually had people approach me saying, why are you reading a book? Why aren't you drinking alcohol and socializing? And I would just say to them, I'm literally just here to read my book and listen to music. Most of them would be like, oh, why can't you just do that at home? So, you fucking serious? So I said to them, well, this is live music, the atmosphere is lively, and I saw a lot of things, and I would just want to read my book and enjoy what I'm seeing. And a lot of them, after I said that, were like, oh yeah, alright, sounds fair. And a lot of them left me alone. But it was also good because I was at that table for hours, and I mean hours. It was all outdoors, by the way. And the good thing is, people would come around the table and they'd be looking for tables, and I'd be like, please, sit down here. So I met all kinds of people. Like, I socialized people were thinking I was being antisocial because they said that to me a few times, thinking that I was antisocial reading a book, not socializing, but I was doing the opposite. People would join my table, I would get to know them, they would leave, then I'd see another group of people looking for a table, I'd invite them to my table, and then, they would leave and rinse and repeat. So it's like the first person was the person who let me at their table. I just politely asked if I could sit at their table and read a book. There was a seat free, and there were only 4 of them, the old fellas. So, yeah, alright. Anyway, they were alright. They were actually probably the second to worst people I had to sit with. I mean, I'm pretty racist, so it wasn't that bad. But they were definitely racist. They were like veterans, and they were from Vietnam War, and they were very racist. I don't care. I mean, so am I. Sorta. I mean, yeah. Anyway, it was an interesting conversations I had with them. Then they scattered off, and then a bunch of young, like, ooh-ah sort of guys come here at my table. And that was alright. They were pretty chill. I was expecting them to be the dicks of the day, but they were pretty good. I was talking to one guy, I can dance. I said, I can dance. I said, I can dance with anyone. It's not hard. I mean, I know how I sound saying that, but it was a more fluent conversation. Anyway, he left the table, because they come and go, but the main folks were still there. And he came back with this Sheila, and he said, go on, prove it. I looked at him, and I'm still reading this book. This was what I was doing most of the day. And I said, what? And she's like, you want to have a dance with me? I was like, oh, I said, yeah, if you want to have a dance, we can have a dance. And she's like, yeah, I'd love to have a dance. Alright. So we did. We had a dance. I proved that I could dance. I think it was maybe 2 songs, I don't remember. But she loved it. She had a blast. She even said, I'm going to go and get a drink and I'll come back for another dance. We did. We had one more dance. And that guy was very, alright, well done. He said, you proved it. I said, I can teach you if you need you. He's like, no, it's alright. Anyway, that was good. It was good. And then she said she'd come back for another dance, and she never did. But I don't care. I could dance with anyone if I wanted to. I think my phone battery's getting flat. It's starting to get laggy. After them, people left, or whatever you want to call them. A group of young girls flocked my table. I didn't really think too much of it. I just let them all flock around the table. They were busy gas bagging and gossiping, and I was involved in some of their conversations, like all the other people that sat at my table. But mostly I stuck to myself. Had a few good conversations with the boys, and had a few good conversations with the girly girls. They were the two calm ones, because eventually I got some a different group of boys. I don't know what you want to call them. I just fucking army or whatever the fuck they are. They were not the greatest. They were pretty drunk. They were drinking out of a giant ice bucket, trying to prove how they could scull beer and all that shit. That's what I was sort of expecting from the first group. They were a little bit cunty. I was trying to read my book, and they're like, oh, why is this guy reading a book? What's this guy doing? Why is he sitting at our table? Although I've been there for hours, by the way. So they were a little bit of a dicks, but they weren't the worst. The worst was the end, where and it doesn't surprise me. It's like the sort of retired people that are absolute assholes. So there was like the 50 to 55 year old. There were about 4 of them. They were pretty cunty. They were like reading over my shoulder saying, oh, flip the page, I already read that page, and trying to take the piss out of me and all kinds of shit. I mean, I didn't care. One of them said, oh, mate, I already read that page. And I said, seems like a you problem. He's like, oh, jeez, alright. I was like, come on, Anyway, I did have, I guess 3 dances with that one girl, and then probably another 3 dances with some others. But I wasn't really there to dance. I was actually just really enjoying the stories I can tell. Just sitting there, but just watching people around me and reading the book. I saw a lot. I saw 2 people vomit. One person vomited inside a beer cup. It's pretty yuck, because it sort of backfired. I saw a woman, I presume fart, because she looked awkward, and then she put her hand near her ass and sniffed it. I presume she farted. I saw a couple, they weren't going to be fights, but overly drunk people. There were also people that were just like me, that were at the tables for nearly hours on end. And it's like, I don't see the point of drinking, especially that much. I saw a young girl, she looked happy and chirpy and sober-ish. And then towards the end, she just looked not happy. And she looked pissed drunk, tipsy. It didn't look like she was really fun. I just don't understand. People are like, oh, why aren't you drinking? It's like, well, I did drink a little, but it's like, really? Oh, now I'm just gonna go home, relax, and maybe put some TV on or something. Try and finish watching that movie Monster Trucks. I was watching that with my niece. But, it was a good day. It was a very good day. Lots of stories, lots of people, lots of me observing people. I had a good couple conversations with people that were sort of at my table. It got to a point where people weren't sitting on my table. They were definitely just surrounding my table and putting beer cups and shit on it, which is fine. I don't care. It's not my table, but I claim it today. But a guy that looked like that tough guy, that Reacher guy from that TV show, he was also one of the person that walked up to me and was like, why are you reading a book? Why aren't you? I mean, the old retired guy was the worst asshole about it. He's like, this is the best day of the year. Why aren't you celebrating? Why aren't you playing that coin flip game? Why aren't you getting drunk and dancing? And why aren't you celebrating our beautiful army? And then he's like, oh, our army is the best. He was the best up his ass guy. But this other guy, this Reacher guy, he was like, why? He was pretty cool. He was like, well, why are you just sitting here reading a book? And I said, because I'm just enjoying the music, reading a book. It's great. And he actually said, you know what? He goes, I judged you wrong. He goes, I agree with you. He goes, I've actually read that book. And I said, really, this one? He goes, yep. And he told me about it. And he definitely has read it. He definitely has read it. Yeah, but again, most people understood once I just told them, I'm just here to listen to the music, watch the people around me, and read my book. I mean, you don't have to read a book in silence at a house. And then they go, oh yeah. But he was a good bloke, that Richard looking dude. He was pretty cool. So yeah. Talked to a few people on WhatsApp and Hinge, and I talked to a Philippine mate. So yeah, I've done a little bit today. I done a lot, but I didn't do much, you know. Anyway, peace. Ciao.